in the forgotten valleys where mountain spirits whispered ancient secrets. The kingdom of lost souls stood as a testament to humanity's relentless evolution, neither entirely of the past nor fully embracing the future. This realm had mastered the delicate balance between tradition and innovation. The year was 3247, long after mankind had stretched its reach across the stars and returned, humbled by the vastness of the cosmos, to rediscover the wealth of wisdom in their ancestral home. Nestled beneath the shadow of Sacred Mountain, Qingqing Village maintained its serene existence as if untouched by the passage of millennia, its curved rooftops and wooden structures interspersed with gleaming bioluminescent pathways that pulsed with the rhythm of life itself. Here, ancient martial arts academies stood alongside laboratories where scientists unraveled the mysteries of biological enhancement through medicinal qi manipulation. It was in this village that young Ngo Tiosun first opened his eyes to the world 16 years ago. Born into the lineage of the renowned Qingqing Martial Academy, he carried the weight of expectation like a second shadow. His master and grandfather figure, the elderly Li Jinghe, had raised him since infancy after his parents perished in the great cosmic storm. What few in the village knew, and what Tiosun himself only half believed, was that Master Li was none other than the legendary Mystic Hand who had once unified 10 kingdoms with nothing but his bare palms and indomitable will. Patience transforms a stone into a blade. Master Li would often tell Tiosun during their morning meditation sessions overlooking the mist-laden valley. Power without restraint is like a river without banks, destructive and ultimately lost to the wilderness. But at 16, patience was a virtue Tiosun struggled to cultivate. His lean frame concealed a tempestuous spirit that yearned to prove itself. Each day, he practiced the ancient forms of the Qingqing style beneath the watchful eye of Master Li, whose seemingly frail body belied the devastating power that lay dormant within. "Your movements lack intention," Master Li observed one crisp autumn morning as golden leaves swirled around them. "Your body follows the form, but your spirit wanders elsewhere. What troubles you, young one?" Tiosun lowered his hands, abandoning the crane stance he had been holding. "The Festival of Honor approaches. Master, everyone will be watching. I fear I will bring shame to our academy." The old master's weathered face creased with a smile. "Fear is the shadow cast by anticipation. Focus on the movement, not the consequence, and you will find your center." What neither of them knew was that this year's festival would bring more than the usual display of martial prowess. It would bring the winds of change, carrying with them the seeds of conflict that would forever alter the peaceful existence of Qingqing Village. On the morning of the festival, the village square transformed into a vibrant tapestry of color and sound. Banners bearing the ancient emblem of the Qingqing Academy, a circular motif representing the eternal flow of qi, fluttered in the gentle breeze. Merchants hawked their wares, selling everything from traditional herbal remedies to modern bioenhancement injectors. Children darted between the legs of adults, their laughter a counterpoint to the solemn ceremonial drums that marked the beginning of the festivities. Tiosun stood at the edge of the demonstration area, his simple white training garments a stark contrast to the elaborate costumes of the other participants. His eyes, however, were fixed not on his fellow martial artists, but on the approaching procession that had just entered the village square. A group of nobles, their robes shimmering with embedded nanofibers that changed color with every movement, made their way toward the central platform. At their center was a woman whose regal bearing commanded attention. Tran Kim Hoa, the matriarch of the Song family and a political force in the kingdom, led the entourage with calculated steps. But it was the young woman beside her who drew Tio-san's gaze. Song Tai-yen moved with the lethal grace of a predator. Her midnight black hair was swept into an elaborate style, crowned with a delicate silver circlet that marked her status as the Song family's heir and champion. The ceremonial sword at her hip was no mere ornament. Its molecularly honed edge could slice through metal as easily as silk. Her cold beauty was renowned throughout the kingdom, as was her mastery of the blade. They say she has defeated 100 masters before her 18th birthday, whispered Lang Diep. Tio-san's childhood friend and the Academy's resident science enthusiast. They call her the Crescent Moon Blade, beautiful but capable of drawing blood. Tio-san frowned. 100 victories mean little if they were not earned with honor. The ceremonies began with traditional displays from each of the village's martial arts schools. When it came time for the Qing Academy's demonstration, Master Li remained seated at the edge of the platform, gesturing for his students to proceed without him. As the eldest disciple present, Tio-san led his fellow students through the complex series of movements that had been preserved through generations. Their synchronized kata drew appreciative murmurs from the crowd. But Tio-san could feel Song Tai-yen's dismissive gaze upon them. When the demonstrations concluded, Matriarch Tron stepped forward, her voice carrying across the square. We of the noble Song family are honored to witness the preservation of traditional martial arts in Qing Village. In recognition of this cultural treasure, we have brought our own champion to exchange knowledge and test skills. My daughter, Song Tai-yen, wishes to pay her respects to the legendary Master Li Jing-he, whose reputation extends even to the imperial courts. A hushed anticipation fell over the crowd. It had been years since Master Li had participated in public demonstrations, preferring to guide his students from the shadows. Many believed he had grown too old, his legendary skills dulled by age. Tai-yen stepped forward, her posture impeccable as she bowed toward Master Li. I have traveled far to witness the skills of the man they once called the Mystic Hand. They say you unified 10 kingdoms with your bare hands. I would be honored to see even a shadow of such legendary prowess. Though her words were respectful, her tone carried an unmistakable challenge, and beneath it, a hint of mockery. The whispers in the crowd grew louder. Some wondered if the old master would rise to the challenge, while others speculated that he had become nothing more than a living relic, a fossil of a bygone era. Master Li remained seated, his expression serene. Age teaches us to choose our battles wisely, young one. I no longer seek to prove my worth through combat. Tai-yen's lips curved into a smile that did not reach her eyes. Wisdom indeed. Perhaps then, one of your disciples would honor me with an exchange, to demonstrate the effectiveness of your teachings in the modern age. Before Master Li could respond, Tio-san stepped forward, his jaw set with determination. I would be honored to represent the Qing Academy. A murmur ran through the crowd. Many knew Tio-san as a dedicated student, but few believed he possessed the skill to match someone of Tai-yen's caliber. Master Li's expression remained unchanged, but a flicker of concern passed through his eyes. The demonstration area was cleared, leaving Tio-san and Tai-yen facing each other in the center. Tai-yen drew her sword with fluid grace, the blade catching the sunlight like a sliver of moon. I will restrict myself to basic techniques, she announced, loud enough for the crowd to hear. Out of respect for your academies. Traditional methods. Tio-san felt his cheeks burn with indignation, but maintained his composure. He assumed the first stance of the Qing style, empty-handed, as was their custom for the initial exchange. The match began with Tai Yen testing Tio Sun's defenses with swift, controlled strikes. He parried and evaded, his movements reflecting years of rigorous training. For a brief moment, it seemed he might hold his own against the noble's daughter. Then, with a speed that left spectators gasping, Tai Yen changed the rhythm of her attack. Her blade became a silver blur, and before Tio Sun could adjust his defense, he felt the cold kiss of metal against his throat. "First point," she announced, stepping back with a smirk. Tio Sun recovered, determination hardening his resolve. They engaged again, and this time he anticipated her change in tempo. He managed to slip past her guard, his open palm striking toward her shoulder in a technique designed to disrupt an opponent's qi flow. Tai Yen twisted away, her blade reversing direction in a move that defied conventional swordsmanship. The flat of her sword struck Tio Sun's extended arm, numbing it instantly. "Second point," she declared. Frustration began to cloud Tio Sun's judgment. He launched into a more aggressive sequence, drawing upon the more advanced techniques Master Li had shown him. For a moment, he seemed to press Tai Yen back, her expression registering surprise at his sudden ferocity. But it was a temporary advantage. With clinical precision, she exploited a gap in his defense. Her final move came not with the blade, but with her open palm, a deliberate insult, using his own style against him. The slap echoed across the suddenly silent square, leaving a red mark on Tio Sun's cheek and an even deeper wound to his pride. "The match is concluded," Tai Yen announced, sheathing her sword. "Your academy's techniques are quaint. Perhaps there is value in preserving such antiquities, as we preserve artifacts in museums." Tio Sun stood frozen, humiliation burning hotter than the mark on his face. Around him, the crowd's silence felt like a physical weight. Tai Yen turned to face Master Li, offering a bow that seemed more mocking than respectful. "I had hoped to test myself against the legendary mystic hand. I see now that legends are often greater than reality. Still, I thank you for this educational exchange." As she walked away, rejoining her mother and their entourage, the whispers in the crowd grew louder. Some looked at Master Li with pity, others with disappointment. The old master remained impassive, his gaze following Tai Yen with an inscrutable expression. That night, long after the festival had ended and the village had returned to its quiet rhythm, Tio Sun sat alone by the small stream that ran behind the academy. The gentle gurgle of water over stones did nothing to soothe the turmoil within him. The memory of that public humiliation played in his mind like a relentless echo, each repetition stoking the embers of his anger. "Shame is a poor teacher," came Master Li's voice from behind him, "but an effective motivator, if channeled correctly." Tio Sun did not turn. "She made a mockery of our academy, of your legacy, and I was too weak to defend it." The old master lowered himself beside his student, his movements deliberate but not strained. "What you perceive as weakness is merely unrefined potential. The Song family's daughter has trained since she could walk, with resources and advantages you have never known." "Then how am I to overcome such advantages?" Tio Sun demanded, finally turning to face his master. "How can our traditional methods compete against modern techniques and technology?" Master Li's weathered hand reached out, resting on Tio Sun's shoulder. "The answer lies not in abandoning our ways, but in understanding their true essence. The forms we practice are not mere physical movements, but conduits for something deeper, something that technology alone cannot replicate." "Words," Tio Sun said bitterly. "Words do not deflect blades." "No," Master Li agreed, "but understanding can forge them." He stood, his silhouette stark against the moonlit sky. "Come. There is something I have waited too long to show you," curiosity momentarily overriding his despair. Tio-san followed Master Li back to the academy and into the elder's private chambers, a place he had rarely been permitted to enter. The room was sparsely furnished, with scrolls lining the walls and a single meditation mat at its center. Master Li knelt before an ancient wooden chest in the corner, his fingers tracing patterns across its surface that Tio-san recognized as the most advanced form of the Qing style. The chest opened with a soft click, revealing a compartment lined with crimson silk. From within, Master Li withdrew a small object that caught the lamplight with an otherworldly gleam. "This," he said, holding it up between thumb and forefinger, "is the hidden ring." Tio-san stared at the unassuming ring. Its surface appeared to shift between metallic and organic, with intricate patterns that seemed to move when viewed from different angles. "It is a relic from the age when our ancestors first combined martial arts with biological science," Master Li explained. "A repository of knowledge and power passed down through generations of our lineage. I entrusted it to your grandfather before his passing." Tio-san's eyes widened. "My grandfather? But you never speak of him." "Some wounds are too deep for words," Master Li replied softly. "Your grandfather was my greatest student and my closest friend. He died protecting this village from forces that sought to exploit our knowledge for destructive ends. The same forces that now gather on our horizon once more." He placed the ring in Tio-san's palm. It was surprisingly warm to the touch, almost as if it pulsed with its own heartbeat. "This ring contains secrets of bio-ki manipulation that have been forgotten by the outside world. Techniques that, when mastered, can amplify one's natural abilities beyond conventional limits." "Then why have you hidden it away?" Tio-san asked, captivated by the shifting patterns on the ring's surface. "Why not use its power to maintain our academy's prominence?" Master Li's expression grew grave. "Because power without wisdom is a path to destruction. The ring responds to intent as much as skill. In the wrong hands, or with the wrong heart, it can corrupt as easily as it can elevate." He closed Tio-san's fingers around the ring. "I give it to you now, not as a weapon of revenge, but as a tool for understanding. Study it. Learn from it. But remember that true strength comes not from external sources, but from within." In the days that followed, Tio-san devoted himself to understanding the hidden ring's secrets. During the day, he maintained his regular training routine, though his fellow disciples noted a new intensity in his practice. At night, alone in his quarters, he explored the ring's capabilities. He discovered that when worn during meditation, the ring seemed to enhance his perception of the energy flows within his body. What had once been abstract concepts became visceral experiences. He could feel the pathways of QI coursing through his meridians, could sense blockages and imbalances with newfound clarity. With practice, he learned to direct this enhanced awareness into his martial techniques. Movements that had once been mechanical repetitions became expressions of internal power. His strikes carried more force, his defenses became more impenetrable, and his speed increased beyond what he had thought possible. Lang Diep, who had been assisting Tio-san with scientific analyses of the ring, marveled at the changes in his friend. "It's as if the ring is accelerating your cellular regeneration and neural pathways," he explained after one particularly intense training session. "Your body is adapting at an unprecedented rate. But, Tio-san, there's something else about it that I can't quantify. Something that defies conventional science." Tio-san, breathing heavily from exertion, but recovering with remarkable speed, nodded. Master Li called it bio-ki manipulation. It's as if the ring helps bridge the gap between intention and manifestation. Lang Diep frowned, adjusting his glasses, a deliberate anachronism in an age when ocular enhancements were common. Just be careful. Rapid biological changes can have unforeseen consequences, and there's something about the ring's molecular structure that shifts when I try to analyze it, almost as if it's adapting to avoid scrutiny. But Tio-san was too enamored with his progress to heed warnings. News had reached the village that Song Tai Yen was organizing a grand martial tournament, inviting champions from neighboring kingdoms to participate. It was clearly a move to establish her dominance and extend her family's influence. Without telling Master Li, Tio-san registered himself as a participant, using an assumed name to avoid recognition until the later rounds. The tournament was to be held in the provincial capital, a sprawling metropolis where ancient architecture stood alongside soaring biometric towers. Tio-san had rarely ventured beyond the village boundaries, and the sensory assault of the city left him momentarily disoriented. Holographic advertisements floated above crowded streets, promoting everything from neural enhancements to spiritual retreats. Citizens dressed in a bewildering array of styles that reflected the kingdom's cultural melting pot. Traditional robes alongside synthetic bodysuits, tribal markings next to technological implants. The tournament grounds occupied a massive arena at the city's heart, its design echoing ancient coliseums while incorporating modern amenities. Participants were housed in dormitories surrounding the central fighting area, each assigned quarters based on their registration status and preliminary rankings. Tio-san's assumed identity as a wandering practitioner from the outer provinces earned him modest accommodations and little attention from the other competitors. This suited him perfectly, allowing him to observe without being observed. He kept the hidden ring concealed beneath a simple cloth wrapping, using it only in private to continue his training. The preliminary rounds began the following day. Competitors were divided into blocks, with the winners of each advancing to the main tournament. Tio-san's first match was against a hulking warrior from the northern mountains, whose body bore the telltale signs of chemical enhancement, bulging veins and slightly discolored skin that spoke of strength-boosting compounds. When the signal to begin came, the mountain warrior charged with a roar, clearly intending to end the match with a single overwhelming attack. Tio-san, moving with the fluid grace of the Ching-Ching style, sidestepped the charge and countered with a precise strike to a pressure point on his opponent's neck. The larger man stumbled, confusion evident in his expression as his enhanced muscles failed to respond to his commands. A second strike to a meridian junction temporarily disrupted the warrior's Kuai flow, causing him to collapse to his knees. The match was over in less than 30 seconds, leaving spectators murmuring in surprise at the efficiency of the unknown fighter from the provinces. Similar victories followed as Tio-san progressed through the preliminary rounds. He deliberately kept his techniques minimal, revealing just enough skill to win, but holding back the full extent of his abilities. By the third day, he had secured his place in the main tournament, and whispers about the mysterious fighter with the traditional style began to circulate among both competitors and spectators. It was during this time that Tio-san first encountered the assassin. He was returning to his quarters after observing the final preliminary matches when he sensed a disturbance in the air currents behind him, the subtle shift that preceded an attack. Instinctively, he dropped into a defensive stance, the hidden ring warming against his skin beneath its wrapping. A shadow detached itself from the darkness of the corridor, resolving into a figure clad entirely in black, face obscured by a mask that revealed only cold, calculating eyes. Without a word, The assassin launched into an attack, bladed weapons appearing in both hands as if conjured from the air itself. Tio-san defended desperately, recognizing the lethal intent behind each strike. This was no tournament match, but an attempt on his life. The assassin's style was unlike any he had encountered, a hybrid technique that incorporated elements from various martial traditions alongside what appeared to be technologically enhanced movements. As the fight intensified, Tio-san felt the hidden ring growing hotter against his skin, its energy pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. Almost without conscious thought, he channeled this energy into his counterattacks. His strikes began to leave visible disturbances in the air, key manifestations that took physical form. The assassin faltered, clearly unprepared for this development. Taking advantage of the momentary hesitation, Tio-san executed a complex sequence that culminated in a palm strike to the assassin's chest. The impact sent his attacker flying backward into a wall, with enough force to crack the reinforced material. Before Tio-san could approach or question his fallen opponent, the assassin triggered some form of escape mechanism. A cloud of smoke erupted from the figure's collapsed form, and when it cleared, the corridor was empty save for a small emblem left behind, a stylized crescent moon that Tio-san recognized with a chill as the personal insignia of the Song family. Disturbed by the implications, Tio-san returned to his quarters with new wariness. If the Song family had sent an assassin, it suggested they had somehow discovered his identity and viewed him as a threat. But how? And why resort to such measures outside the tournament structure? His contemplation was interrupted by a soft knock at his door. Tensing, prepared for another attack, he was surprised to find Lang Deep standing in the hallway, looking both excited and anxious. "I thought I might find you here," his friend said, slipping inside without waiting for an invitation. "Though I must say, Wandering Practitioner Joe is not the most creative pseudonym." Tio-san couldn't help but smile despite his concerns. "What are you doing here? It's dangerous." Lang Diep shrugged, already examining the sparse room with scientific curiosity. "Someone had to make sure you didn't get yourself killed. Besides, I've made some fascinating discoveries about our mutual friend." He tapped his finger meaningfully against his own ring finger, as Lang Deep unpacked his findings, explaining how the ring's properties seem to adapt to its wearer's specific biological makeup and mental state. Tio-san shared his encounter with the assassin and his suspicions about the Song family's involvement. "It makes a certain kind of sense," Lang Diep mused. "If they've been monitoring the tournament closely, your fighting style might have given you away. The Ching-Ching techniques are quite distinctive, but an assassination attempt seems extreme, even for nobles known for their ruthlessness." "Unless they fear something," Tio-san suggested, "or someone." Lang Diep's eyes widened with realization. "Master Li, they may believe he's preparing to emerge from seclusion, using you as his proxy. That would threaten the power structure they've been cultivating." The main tournament began the following day, with increased security and spectacle. The provincial governor himself attended, along with representatives from neighboring kingdoms. The Song family occupied a prominent box in the arena, with matriarch Tran presiding over the proceedings, like a queen holding court. Beside her, Song Tai-yen sat with regal poise, her expression betraying nothing as she observed the matches. Tio-san's first opponent in the main tournament was a swordsman from the eastern shores, known for his water-inspired techniques that flowed with deceptive gentleness before striking with tsunami force. The match proved challenging, forcing Tio-san to draw more deeply on the hidden ring's power than he had intended at this stage. His victory, while decisive, left him breathing heavily and aware that he had revealed more of his capabilities than planned. As he left the arena, He felt Tai Yen's gaze following him, her interest now unmistakably piqued. Whether she had recognized him remained unclear. But the intensity of her scrutiny suggested at least suspicion. The tournament's structure required participants to navigate not only combat matches, but also a series of trials designed to test different aspects of martial prowess. The second day brought the Venomous Marsh Challenge, where competitors had to traverse a swamp filled with toxic flora and fauna, while maintaining their key balance to neutralize the poisons. Tio-san entered the marsh with trepidation, aware that this environment favored those with training in toxin resistance, not a primary focus of the Qing style. As he made his way through the thick, bubbling mud, he felt the caustic vapors beginning to affect his respiratory system. The hidden ring responded to his distress, its energy forming a subtle barrier around him that filtered the worst of the toxins. Halfway through the marsh, he encountered another competitor struggling against the effects of a particularly virulent plant that had wrapped its tendrils around his legs. Despite the risk to his own standing, Tio-san stopped to help, using a technique Master Li had taught him to disrupt the plant's aggressive growth pattern. The grateful competitor introduced himself as Wei Ming, a practitioner from a Western kingdom known for its healing arts. Few would stop to help a rival, Wei Ming noted as they continued through the marsh together. You show unusual honor for one who conceals his true identity. Wandering practitioner, Zhou, or should I say, disciple of the Qing Academy. Tio-san tensed, but Wei Ming raised his hands in a peaceful gesture. I mean no threat. I recognized your style from historical texts. The Mystic Hand's lineage has always emphasized harmony with nature and respect for all living things, even potential adversaries. It is refreshing to see these values preserved. Their conversation was cut short by the appearance of a marsh guardian, a massive amphibian creature whose skin exuded paralytic toxins. Together, they coordinated their techniques to navigate around the beast without triggering its territorial aggression, solidifying a tentative alliance that would serve them both in the trials to come. By the time they emerged from the marsh, Tio-san had gained not only a valuable ally, but also deeper insights into the hidden ring's capabilities. Its protective properties extended beyond his own body, allowing him to influence the environment around him, a revelation that expanded his understanding of bio-ki manipulation. The tournament progressed through increasingly demanding challenges, a trial of endurance in the metal desert, where shifting sands composed of microscopic metallic particles threatened to abrade flesh from bone, a test of mental fortitude in the echo chambers, where psychic amplifiers projected competitors' own fears and doubts back at them in tangible form. Through each trial, Tio-san advanced, his skills growing sharper, his connection to the hidden ring deepening. But with each victory, the weight of his deception became heavier. He found himself questioning his initial motivation. Was this truly about defending his academy's honor? Or had it become a personal vendetta fueled by wounded pride? During a rare moment of respite between trials, he secluded himself in a meditation garden within the tournament grounds. As he centered his thoughts, he became aware of another presence, a familiar energy signature that caused him to open his eyes in shock. Master Li? The old master stood before him, appearing as if he had materialized from the very air. Your absence from the academy was conspicuous, he said, his tone revealing neither approval nor condemnation. Tio-san bowed his head, shame washing over him. I should have sought your guidance before embarking on this path. Yes, Master Li agreed simply. You should have. He seated himself beside his student, his movements containing the same fluid grace they always had, belying his advanced age. But perhaps this journey was necessary for you to understand certain truths that words alone could not convey. I have learned much about the ring's power, Tio-san offered, hope rising that his master might not be entirely disappointed in his actions. And what of its purpose? Master Li asked. Have you discerned why such an artifact was created and preserved through generations? Tio-san hesitated, realizing he had indeed been so focused on the ring's capabilities that he had given little thought to its intended role. I assumed it was a weapon, a means to augment one's martial prowess. Master Li's laugh was soft but genuine. A common misconception. Power is rarely an end in itself. Young one, it is a means, a tool for achieving something greater. He gazed out over the garden, his eyes seeming to see beyond the present moment. The hidden ring was forged during the Age of Division, when our ancestors sought not domination, but unification. Not through conquest, but through understanding. He turned back to Tio-san, his expression serious. The ring's true purpose is to bridge divides between mind and body, between different martial traditions, between past wisdom and future potential. It enhances not merely one's physical abilities, but one's capacity for perception and connection. Tio-san frowned, struggling to reconcile this perspective with his experiences. But I have been using it to become stronger, to defeat my opponents. And has that brought you satisfaction? Master Li interrupted gently. Has each victory filled the void left by that moment of humiliation? The question struck at the heart of Tio-san's internal conflict. Despite his successes in the tournament, the memory of Tai Yen's dismissive slap still burned. No amount of triumph over other competitors had erased that sting. I see doubt in your eyes, Master Li observed. Good. Doubt is the beginning of wisdom. He rose to his feet. Complete your journey here. Face whatever challenges await you. But remember that the true test is not of your strength against others, but of your understanding of yourself. With those words, Master Li departed as mysteriously as he had appeared, leaving Tio-san with far more questions than answers. Yet somehow, his mind felt clearer than it had since the Festival of Honor. The semi-final rounds of the tournament brought Tio-san face to face with increasingly formidable opponents. His match against Wei Ming tested not only his combat skills, but also his resolve. As facing a friend in competition raised moral questions about the nature of victory and defeat. Their bout ended with mutual respect, Tio-san advancing by the narrowest of margins. In the other semi-final, Song Tai-yen demonstrated why she was considered the kingdom's premier martial artist. Her opponent, a renowned master from the southern islands, fell before her blade with barely a chance to showcase his own considerable skills. The clinical precision of her victory sent a clear message to all watching, and to Tio-san in particular. The night before the final match, Tio-san could not find peace in meditation or rest. His thoughts circled endlessly around Master Li's words and the imminent confrontation with Tai Yen. Would she recognize him immediately? And if so, how would she respond to the revelation that the village practitioner she had so casually dismissed had advanced to challenge her in her own tournament? A soft knock at his door broke through his ruminations. Cautious after the assassin incident, he approached warily, sensing the visitor's energy before opening the door. To his surprise, he found Lang Deep accompanied by a hooded figure, who upon entering and lowering their cowl, revealed themselves to be Wei Ming. "Forgive the late intrusion," Wei Ming said, his usually calm demeanor troubled. "But we have discovered something that cannot wait until morning." Lang Diep produced a small data crystal, activating it to project holographic images in the air between them. "I've been analyzing the tournament structure and the Song family's financial movements," he explained. "And something doesn't add up. The resources being poured into this event far exceed what would be necessary for even the most extravagant display of martial arts. Wei Ming nodded grimly. My people have been monitoring the Song family for some time. They have been acquiring ancient artifacts and texts related to bio-QI manipulation from across the kingdom and beyond. We believe this tournament is a cover for something far more sinister. The holographic display shifted to show architectural plans for what appeared to be massive underground facilities beneath the tournament arena. These chambers contain equipment for large-scale energy extraction and transfer. Lang Diep continued. According to Wei Ming's intelligence, the Song family has discovered a method to harvest qi energy from skilled practitioners during combat and store it for later use. A form of spiritual vampirism, Wei Ming added, potentially devastating if weaponized as we believe they intend. Tomorrow's final match may be designed to extract maximum energy from the two most powerful competitors, you and Tai Yan. Tiosan's mind raced with the implications. But would Tai Yan knowingly participate in such a scheme? She would be as much a victim as anyone else. Lang Diep and Wei Ming exchanged glances. We believe she may be unaware of her mother's true intentions, Wei Ming said carefully. Matriarch Tron has always used her daughter as a pawn in her political machinations. This would be consistent with her pattern of exploitation. The revelation cast the upcoming match in an entirely new light. What had begun as a quest for personal redemption now involved stakes far beyond individual honor. If the Song family succeeded in their plan, the balance of power throughout the kingdom would be irrevocably altered, potentially threatening the very existence of traditional martial arts academies like Qing Qing. What can be done? Tiosan asked, a new resolve hardening within him. The extraction system can be disabled, Lang Diep explained, but it would require access to the main control chamber beneath the arena during the match itself. I can handle the technical aspects, but I would need protection and guidance through the security systems. Wei Ming nodded. My agents can provide distraction and cover, but our numbers are limited. The Song family's guards are formidable and numerous. And what of the match itself? Tiosan asked. If I withdraw, they might simply replace me with another finalist. You must compete, Wei Ming confirmed. But with awareness of what truly transpires, your presence in the arena will be crucial to our timing. They spent the remainder of the night formulating their plan, each contributing their unique skills and knowledge. As dawn broke over the tournament grounds, Tiosan felt a strange calm settle over him. The path before him was fraught with danger, but for the first time since beginning this journey, his purpose was clear, and it extended far beyond personal vindication. The final day of the tournament dawned with an atmosphere of anticipation that bordered on feverish. The arena was filled beyond capacity, with spectators from all walks of life crowding the stands to witness the culmination of what had become a legendary competition. Nobles and commoners alike jostled for position, united in their excitement for the impending spectacle. The ceremonial opening featured displays of martial prowess from eliminated competitors, showcasing the diversity of styles that had been represented in the tournament. Tiosan observed from the competitors' waiting area, his mind focused on the complex plan now in motion. Lang Diep had already infiltrated the maintenance tunnels beneath the arena, disguised as technical staff. Wei Ming's agents were strategically positioned throughout the crowd, ready to create diversions when needed. When the time came for the final match, Tiosan entered the arena to a chorus of cheers and speculation. Many in the audience had been captivated by the mysterious practitioner who had advanced through the ranks with his traditional style. Opposite him, Song Tai Yan made her entrance with the confidence of one who had never known defeat. Her ceremonial armor gleamed in the arena lights, and her sword, a masterpiece of metallurgical science and traditional craftsmanship, hung at her side like an extension of her will. Matriarch Tron presided over the proceedings from her elevated box, her expression one of calculated satisfaction. Beside her sat various dignitaries and nobles, all eager to curry favor with the powerful Song family. None appeared aware of the true purpose hidden beneath the tournament's glamorous facade. As Tio Son and Tai Yan faced each other in the center of the arena, the official began reciting the rules for the final match. It would be conducted without time limits, continuing until one competitor could no longer continue or conceded defeat. Lethal techniques were forbidden, but beyond that, few restrictions applied. "Before we begin," Tai Yan said, her voice pitched to carry to the audience, "I would know the true identity of the one who has earned the right to face me in this final contest." Tio Son hesitated only briefly before reaching up to remove the half-mask he had worn throughout the tournament. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd as many recognized the young practitioner from Qingqing village who had been so thoroughly defeated at the Festival of Honor. Tai Yan's eyes narrowed, a complex mix of emotions flashing across her face. Surprise, certainly, but also something like respect. "You have come far in a short time," she acknowledged, "though it changes nothing about the outcome of our match." "Perhaps," Tio Son replied evenly, "but it may change what that outcome means." The signal was given, and the match began. Tai Yan opened with a series of probing attacks, testing Tio Son's defenses much as she had during their first encounter. But this time, he met her strikes with confident counters, his movements flowing with a harmony that spoke of deeper understanding rather than mere technical proficiency. As they exchanged techniques, Tio Son became aware of subtle energy patterns forming around the arena, invisible to normal perception, but clear to his enhanced senses thanks to the hidden ring. Channels of force were drawing key energy from both combatants, siphoning it away toward collection points beneath the floor. The realization lent urgency to his actions. According to their plan, he needed to maintain the match for at least 15 minutes, the time Lang Diep had estimated necessary to sabotage the extraction system. But as the combat intensified, it became clear that Tai Yan was not merely a talented swordswoman, but a true prodigy whose skills had been honed to near perfection. Her blade seemed to exist in multiple places simultaneously, creating patterns of attack that required all of Tio Son's enhanced perception to navigate. He found himself drawing more deeply on the hidden ring's power, channeling energy through pathways in his body that he had only begun to understand. 10 minutes into the match, the tide began to turn against him. Tai Yan had identified patterns in his defense and was systematically dismantling them, forcing him into increasingly desperate evasions. A shallow cut appeared on his arm, then another, across his shoulder. Not serious wounds, but harbingers of a coming defeat if he could not adapt. In that moment of crisis, Master Li's words returned to him. The ring's true purpose is to bridge divides. Until now, he had been using the ring primarily to enhance his own abilities, seeing it as a source of personal power. But what if its greater potential lay in connection rather than amplification? With this new perspective, Tio Son shifted his approach. Rather than channeling the ring's energy solely into his techniques, he extended his awareness outward, seeking to understand the flow of Tai Yan's movements at a deeper level. To his surprise, he began to perceive not just her physical actions, but the intention behind them, the emotional current that drove her relentless pursuit of victory. Beneath her composed exterior, he sensed a profound insecurity, a desperate need to prove her worth, not just to others, but to herself. Each perfect technique was performed not with joy in the art, but with fear of failure. feared that without constant validation through victory, she would lose her place in her mother's regard and in the social hierarchy she had been raised to revere. This insight changed everything. Tio-san adjusted his approach, no longer seeking to counter her techniques directly, but to respond to the emotional energy driving them. Where she attacked with fear-driven precision, he answered with grounded stability. When she struck with the need for dominance, he yielded only to redirect. The shift was subtle but profound. Gradually, the rhythm of the match transformed from a battle into something approaching a dialogue. Tai Yen's expression reflected her confusion as she found her carefully honed techniques meeting not opposition, but understanding. 15 minutes into the match, the planned signal came, a particular pattern of lights flickering around the arena's perimeter, indicating that Lang Diep had succeeded in disrupting the energy extraction system. Now came the most dangerous phase of their plan. Tio-san needed to end the match decisively, but in a way that would expose the Song family's scheme without endangering the spectators. As he prepared for his final sequence, an unexpected development shocked everyone present. Master Li appeared at the edge of the arena, having somehow bypassed all security measures. His presence caused an immediate stir, with whispers of the mystic hand spreading through the crowd like wildfire. Matriarch Tran rose to her feet, alarm evident in her posture. Without a word, Master Li stepped onto the fighting platform. The officials moved to intercept him, but a simple gesture, not even a true technique, merely the suggestion of one, froze them in their tracks. The old master walked calmly to the center of the arena, where Tio-san and Tai Yen had paused their combat. To the astonishment of all present, Master Li knelt before Tai Yen, his head bowed in a posture that could be interpreted as submission. A hush fell over the arena as everyone struggled to comprehend this unexpected turn of events. Was the legendary mystic hand acknowledging the superiority of the younger generation? Was this a formal passing of the torch? Tai Yen herself appeared stunned, her sword lowering slightly as she regarded the kneeling elder with uncertainty. The moment stretched, tension building like a gathering storm. Then, with movement so swift, it defied perception. Master Li executed a palm technique, directed not at Tai Yen, but at the space between them. There was no visible projectile, no dramatic display of force, only a ripple in the air, like heat rising from sun-baked stone. The effect, however, was immediate and spectacular. Tai Yen's sword shattered into fragments, the advanced alloy that had been proclaimed indestructible falling away like autumn leaves. The crown-like circlet she wore cracked down the middle, falling from her head to clatter on the arena floor. Throughout the stadium, hidden energy collectors exploded in cascades of sparks, revealing their presence to the shocked audience. Most devastating of all, a wave of force traveled up to the dignitary's box, causing the concealed controls at Matriarch Tran's fingertips to short-circuit, sending painful feedback through her neural interfaces. She collapsed back into her seat, her schemes literally smoking ruins around her. Silence reigned for several heartbeats as the magnitude of what had transpired sank in. Then, Master Li rose to his feet, his voice carrying effortlessly to every corner of the vast arena. "What have you learned from this victory?" he asked Tai Yen, whose composed facade had finally crumbled, leaving her looking young and vulnerable. Tears welled in her eyes as the weight of realization settled upon her. Not just the revelation of her mother's schemes, which from her expression was clearly news to her, but a deeper understanding of what her pursuit of martial supremacy had cost her in human terms. I have learned that I know nothing," she whispered, her voice breaking. that I have mistaken technique for mastery and dominance for strength." She sank to her knees, mirroring Master Li's earlier posture. "I have dishonored the true spirit of martial arts with my arrogance." Master Li nodded, satisfaction evident in his expression. Then he turned to Tio-san, whose own journey had reached an equally transformative juncture. "And you, my student? What has this taught you?" Tio-san looked down at the hidden ring on his finger, understanding at last its true significance. "That power is meaningless without purpose," he answered. "And that true strength lies not in defeating others, but in building bridges between them." In the aftermath of these revelations, chaos erupted throughout the arena. Guards loyal to the Song family moved to intervene, only to be met by Wei Ming's agents emerging from the crowd. Spectators began to flee, while others stayed to witness the historical moment unfolding before them. Amidst the confusion, Matriarch Tran regained consciousness, and seeing her plans in ruins, attempted a desperate gambit. Drawing a concealed weapon, a neural disruptor designed to incapacitate without leaving evidence, she aimed at Master Li's unprotected back. Tai Yen, witnessing her mother's treachery, moved with lightning speed to intercept. "No more," she declared, standing protectively before Master Li and Tio-san. "This ends now. Mother, our family has lost its way, and I will not be part of further dishonor." Matriarch Tran's expression contorted with rage and betrayal. "Everything I have done has been to secure our family's position, to ensure your future in a world that grows increasingly hostile to traditional power structures." "At what cost?" Tai Yen demanded. "Would you have me rule over a kingdom where true martial arts have been corrupted into mere tools for power? Where the wisdom of the past is harvested rather than honored?" She shook her head firmly. "I renounce my claim to leadership of the Song family, if this is what it means." This public declaration sent shockwaves through the assembled nobles. The Song family's carefully cultivated image of unity and strength crumbled before their eyes, leaving a power vacuum that would reshape the kingdom's political landscape. In the days that followed, the full extent of Matriarch Tran's conspiracy was revealed. The tournament had indeed been designed to identify and harvest the QE energy of the kingdom's most powerful practitioners, with the ultimate goal of creating weapons that could control or neutralize martial artists who opposed the Song family's rule. It was a scheme that threatened the very foundation of their society, where martial traditions and technological advancement had long existed in careful balance. The Song family's influence suffered a severe blow, though they were not destroyed entirely. Too many economic and political ties connected them to the kingdom's infrastructure for a complete collapse. Instead, a period of reckoning began, with Tai Yen emerging as an unexpected voice for reform within the noble houses. As for Qingqing Village and its academy, they found themselves thrust into unexpected prominence. Master Li, whose legendary status had been reaffirmed in the most dramatic fashion possible, received formal recognition from the kingdom's ruler, a symbolic gesture acknowledging the value of traditional martial arts in their rapidly evolving society. Tio-san returned to the village with a perspective transformed by his experiences. The hidden ring remained on his finger, but its significance had changed for him. No longer a secret weapon or a source of personal power, it represented a responsibility to preserve and evolve the knowledge it contained for future generations. One clear morning several weeks after the tournament's conclusion, as Tio-san practiced forms in the academy's courtyard, he was surprised by the arrival of an unexpected visitor. Song Tai Yen, dressed in the simple garments of a martial arts student rather than the elaborate attire of nobility, stood at the entrance, her posture conveying both determination and humility. "I have come to request instruction," she announced, bowing deeply to Master Li, who had emerged from the academy building. "If you will accept one who has much to unlearn before she can truly begin learning." Master Li's weathered face creased in a thoughtful smile. "The willingness to unlearn is perhaps the most valuable quality in a student," he observed. "It creates space for new wisdom to take root." He turned to Tio-san, including him in the decision. "What say you? Would you accept a new fellow disciple?" Tio-san regarded Tai Yan, searching for any remnant of the arrogance that had once defined her. Finding none, he nodded slowly. "The path of martial arts is open to all who approach it with sincere hearts," he said, echoing one of Master Li's favorite teachings. "Welcome to Ching Ching Academy, fellow student." Tai Yan's grateful smile contained none of her former condescension. Together, they began the first of many training sessions, their former enmity transforming gradually into mutual respect and eventually into a partnership that would help reshape the kingdom's approach to martial arts education. Under their combined influence, a new movement emerged that sought to integrate traditional practices with modern science in ways that honored both. The hidden ring, studied carefully under Master Li's guidance, revealed secrets of bio-QI manipulation that offered alternatives to destructive technological exploitation. Lang Diep established a research center adjacent to the academy, where practitioners and scientists collaborated to explore the intersection of martial arts philosophy and advanced biological science. Wei Ming's people contributed their own traditions, creating a cross-cultural exchange that enriched all participants. And Master Li, whose legend had only grown following the tournament's dramatic conclusion, found a new purpose in his advanced years. No longer merely preserving ancient knowledge in isolation, he became an ambassador between worlds, the living embodiment of harmony between past wisdom and future potential. One evening, as the setting sun cast long shadows across the academy grounds, Tio-san found his master standing alone, gazing toward the distant horizon. "You seem troubled." "Master," he observed, coming to stand beside the elder. Master Li shook his head slightly. "Not troubled. Contemplative. What occurred at the tournament was but the opening move in a larger game. The balance we seek is fragile, constantly threatened by those who would use power without wisdom. Then we must be vigilant," Tio-san said with the confidence of youth. Master Li's smile held both affection and a touch of sadness. "Vigilance, yes, but also adaptation. The world changes, and so must we if our traditions are to survive in forms that remain true to their essence." He placed a hand on Tio-san's shoulder, the gesture conveying both approval and the weight of responsibility. "This is the true legacy I pass to your generation, not techniques or artifacts, but the understanding that preservation without evolution is merely embalming. The martial revolution has only just begun." As they stood together, watching darkness settle over the village, Tio-san felt the hidden ring warm slightly against his skin, not with the heat of combat, but with the gentle pulse of potential. Whatever challenges the future held, they would face them not as master and student, but as guardians of a living tradition, bound by something far stronger than mere power, the eternal flow of knowledge from one generation to the next, like a river that changes course but never ceases to flow.